Sounds like Kenya Keiko.
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir? I'm excited.
I'm here. I'm ready. Me too.
Fantastic. We got a group of young, up-and-coming filmmakers. They are excited. Dale, we went over there.
Fantastic.
We went over their pictures today. They're gonna be back on in 1 minute. They're still
You take. Listen, I'm here to support whatever it takes. I'm here.
fantastic.
Thank you. Look good, man. You've been working out.
Oh man, yes, I'm working out daily and
Good for you.
eating right and doing the right things. Yeah.
Good, man. Good. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm enjoying the weekly Zoom with the live performance,
Mm-hmm.
the hybrid. I'm performing that whole thing. I'm looking.
I gotta figure out what I did wrong.
You know, we
I do Zoom. Listen, I get a whole new show. You got to come on my show. I do a show every single friggin' day on Zoom.
Oh man, I would love to come.
It's called Interius. I'll send you the link. Check it out. It's going pretty well so far.
Okay, excellent. So
take your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, team. Everyone, it is 11:10, so please come back on. Okay, I'd like for you to open up your videos. Yes, yes, yes. So everyone, I am just super excited, right, about a guest that we have today. We just went over some of the fundamentals of filmmaking. We know about being flexible, right? And I told you we're gonna learn about festivals and markets. Well, I have an expert here, a guy who has created one of the best film festivals ever, not just in California or Las Vegas, not just on the West Coast and the East Coast and just in the United States. This man festival, the Action on Film International Film Festival, is one of the best in the world. And it's not just me saying it, it's well documented when you go into the industry newsletters and magazines. This is one of the festivals they will be talking about. This is one of the festivals they are talking about. This is one where you want to get your films. I'm telling you, even your first film, and some of you guys, you're about to do your first film, I'm telling you, you're gonna need to send your festival here, your film to this particular festival, send it in. Now, we haven't talked about festivals yet, but Del Weston is going to tell you each and every step, everything you need to know about films, marketing, getting deals. He's going to tell it to you right now. So with that, guys, pay attention and take notes, right? Take notes and be ready to ask questions, right? We went over interviews all morning, right? Be ready to ask questions of Del Weston. Del, please take it away.
Hey guys, how are you? Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. And Kenya, thank you for the great invitation to come speak to some people about their dreams. It matters. Every one of you has a concept or an idea or a story in your heart and in your head. The beauty about that is that it means that you should do something about it. And this is the perfect time. There's been no more democratic, no more opportune, no more technological time to make a film than today. All the barriers have been wiped away from all the years where it was a closed industry. And what I mean by that is 15, 20 years ago, you could not make a feature film the way you can make a film today. It requires a phone today. It requires a microphone, maybe a Zoom. No lights, because the cameras today actually operate beautifully in low light conditions. And even the Canon new R camera that just came out, that 6K camera will do the same thing, shooting in low light and giving you the opportunity to make beautiful images. A couple of things that you need to be concerned about at this stage is that the industry has changed. And it was changing before COVID. COVID just kind of put the hammer in the coffin. So if you will go back about 25 years, you'll remember that there were shows like Sundance and Cannes and Toronto. And what would happen is a filmmaker would make his or her film, and they would take that film to a festival, and then buyers would see the film. And every major studio has buyers who purchase films. Most of the studios have been wiped away in the last 6 months. They still exist, but they're not releasing anything. So a company that's not making or releasing anything is not really a movie company. They're just living off of whatever they produced in the past. But for you, with your new concepts and your new ideas and your stories and your new lives, you have a chance to kind of change things. You are the new voice of the next generation. There is no one who can carry that flag but you. So you'll notice that all the old filmmakers, guys like me, these dinosaurs who should have been shot a long time ago, we're out there just struggling to make sure we can get a movie into a major platform like Amazon or Hulu or Netflix. And you can see some of my stuff on Amazon. If you were going to watch something, I'd say watch a documentary I did called Behind the Gate. It stars Academy Award winner Joe Pesci and Oscar De La Hoya and a bunch of other great people. But at least you can get an idea of the type of caliber of work that I've been able to do. So a couple of things have changed in the industry that you should know about, which you probably don't. And it may not even matter to you today, but it will matter to you ultimately. So I'll give you a quick example. 70 years ago, they passed a law that movie studios could not own theater chains. And why was that? So Warner Brothers, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, 20th Century Fox, all these studios could not own a movie theater. And the reason for that is the monopoly. If a theater was owned by movie companies, they could only show their movies and literally block any of their films from being shown, especially big chains. Well, something happened about 3 months ago, a federal judge wiped that law away. And the reason that judge did that was because COVID has wiped out movie theater audiences, which means the producers and owners of theaters don't have enough money to maintain those gigantic 40 and 30 and $20 million mega movie houses they created for people just like you. Just imagine that. Someone said, I want Jacob or Leonia's or Gavin's or Casing's money. And in order to get that, I've got to give them a place that is so fantastic. They'll come spend 15, 20, 30, 40, 60, $100 to be here. Well, all that's gone. And what's happened is most of the studios have stopped producing and definitely releasing. That means a lot of independent filmmakers whose films never would have been seen have now been accepted by Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all the other services out there. The new ones like Tubi, for instance, and a bunch of others that are sprouting up. That creates a need. Now, are you going to get $1 million for your first movie? I have to say, I have not seen that in a very long time. I'm talking about a couple of years. There's still good deals out there, but the world has conspired against the artist once again. So when you take on this journey as a filmmaker, remember, it's a vocation. This is not a hobby. This is not something you do as a pastime. This is a passion and a love for storytelling that probably already exists inside you, or you wouldn't be sitting here today listening to my silliness. So a couple of things I'd like you to be aware of. Number one, story is king. I don't care what your story is. Just remember that more than the camera equipment, more than the audio equipment, more than the theater you screen in, the story is the key. How important is that story to you? How you tell it? Who you bring aboard to tell it with you? You've got a great mentor with Kenya already. And that's a really great point, because when Kenya was starting out and I was starting out, we didn't have mentors. We didn't have cameras. We didn't have word processors. We were writing scripts on typewriters and notepads. And that's a very interesting thing. That's because technology has grown so quickly and so beautifully that all these things have been given to you. And really, you can go on nofilmschool.com and learn everything you need to know about making movies just by visiting that site. You can go to YouTube and watch all the experimental films done by people. And you can also get an idea of the voices that you like. So for instance, By show of hands, how many people here have a favorite filmmaker that they could name? Just raise your hand if you do. And if you don't, that's okay too, right? So what I want you to do is to begin looking at films and filmmakers and seeing the style that you like, whether it's a male, female, American or international, whatever. Find someone whose voice you like, because that voice will speak to you and tell you and give you direction for what you're trying to do. Remember, you don't have to go it alone. It used to be that filmmaking was a very lonely journey, because the director would start out and he'd have to amass all these people, and without money, that director, it was tough. And then we have young women out there who are really trying to use their voice. Well, this is the first time it's ever been democratic that they could. You know, the industry is changing so much, but in your hands, in your capable hands, you will be generating the stories that will influence generations to come. You understand how important you are? The most influential medium in the world, bar none, is film. If you want to change someone's mind, if you want to convince someone of something, if you want to educate or entertain, you can do all those things. And you have that in your hand right now. So I'm going to offer, because you're with Kenya, if anyone in this group needs help writing a script, I can teach you how to write a script literally in 15 minutes. I can give you the background and the structure so that the fear that you have in trying to write a script is eradicated in 15 minutes. I developed that package because I myself was frustrated. I've worked some pretty big movie companies. My background is I started out as an art director for a company called Animagic. We did something called aerial optical printing. And that means we did custom titles for film on giant gimbals, these huge cameras locked in these rooms with these light tables. Apple computers wiped that entire industry away in less than 1 year. And I'll give you an example. At Animagic, the machinery we used just to create the titles cost anywhere from $2 to $9 million. A $3,000 Apple computer wiped it away. And it wiped away union jobs. It wiped away all these things. But what it did that was great is it put movie making in the hands of people like you and I without a barrier to cross. I want to give you one more thing as we're talking. Because you know Kenya, anyone here who does a film in the next year, a film, a script, a poem, a story, whatever you got, I'm going to talk to Kenya. Every one of you will get fee waivers to submit your work to AOF, okay? And one more thing, we happen to own a magazine too called the AOF MegaFest magazine. Kenya's going to pick one of you to have a custom story written about you and your film in that magazine, okay? So when you come around a guy like Kenya, he doesn't bring a guy like me around to talk to you. He brings a guy like me around to help you. And because of him, I am absolutely willing to do it. And more than that, I'm excited to do it. So now we're going to start the class. It's going to go very quickly, so keep up. If you have a question, raise your hand. I can't see everyone, but Kenya, if you can, maybe, or wait, yes, I can now. I guess I can. If you have a question, just ask your question, okay? You'll find a person ready to answer it, okay? So number one, here's what you need to be a filmmaker. You need to have the desire. You have to want to make movies. Now, whether you're an activist or a fiction storyteller or just a guy or a girl with a great eye for camera work or for performance, whatever excites you, that's what I want you to aim at being. So for instance, some people like wardrobe design. That's an excellent, excellent job. Makeup for some people, others, they want to be cinematographers, some want to be directors, some want to be actors, some want to be all that stuff, right? And when you think about some of the biggest actors out there, just think about it. You know, Spike Lee, way before you guys were born, Spike Lee made a film called She's Gotta Have It. It wasn't a really good film, in my opinion, but it showed that he had some skill. And then a bunch of people that came after him, like Matty Rich and Antoine Fuqua and a bunch of others, all came out of Spike Lee. I came out of Spike Lee, and I don't even like Spike Lee. But you cannot deny that his film, Do the Right Thing, was probably one of the most groundbreaking films in the history of the world. Malcolm X, another great Spike Lee film. And even now, The Five Bloods on Netflix, another insanely fantastic film. And they tell the story about people who look like you, okay? For a very long time. And this is not about white people. I got white in me, okay? I got 19 different things in me, all of them confused. But most of the stories that have been told throughout the history of the world have been about people who do not look like you. And as you sit here today in all of your beauty with that black skin and that yellow skin and that red skin and that brown skin and those beautiful eyes and that fantastic hair, it is up to you to tell the story of you and your ancestors and your family and your heroes. This is on you. This is where you take your voice and bring it out to the world. And the story does not have to be yours. It can belong to someone else. But your unique vision will help you tell it. So the very first thing you need, you got to desire to be this thing. You got to want to write. You have to want to shoot. You have to want to see your film and your story edited and come together. The second thing you need is an idea. Okay? No idea is unworthy. I don't care. You know, Lee Daniels made a film called Precious. And there's a really great actor named Harry Lennox, who I've worked with in the past. You've seen him on Blacklist, on NBC, and Matrix, and Superman. He's been in everything. But Harry spoke to me about Precious. He said, Precious doesn't exist. I said, what do you mean Precious doesn't exist? She got hit by a frying pan with her mother. He says, no, she doesn't exist. You can't find Precious anywhere. That was a thought that Lee Daniels had. And he wanted to make it as bad as possible so that people would see Black people in that way and pity them. And that was a sad thing. To me, it was a sad thing. But that was his story. And so it is, because it's his story, he has every right to tell it. And you have the same rights and privileges. So now number two, we got story. We have an idea. We have a concept of what we want to do. And then number three, we have to have structure, okay? Now, I'm not telling you how, because you guys are smarter than I'll ever be. And if you think about it for a second, the way that technology has grown, it advances and doubles every 6 months, okay? So 6 months ago, we did not have the cameras we have now to shoot with. They're new. In 6 months from now, the camera that I bought last year will be obsolete, basically, right? So the tools change, but your dedication, your concept, your story, your idea, and your structure never do. Because the goal is to get from the concept in your mind to the screen in front of your computer or your theater. And you all have that ability. So what do we mean by structure? I mean that you have to have either A, the knowledge of every facet of what you're doing, or the knowledge of how to get to the people who know how to do it, right? And I've always used the second method. I've surrounded myself with great people who absolutely want to see me succeed. And that's rare. I had no father, 9 kids, grew up horribly, tough straits, right? A lot of violence, all those things play into my story. I'm beginning to wonder what your story is. Maybe it's not like mine. Maybe it's not like Kenya's. Maybe it's unique. Maybe it's like your friend. But that structure of who you are is your strength, not your weakness, right? You have 2 men here. One of them who's never met you, who says, I will help you. That's structure. And then you have someone who says, well, let's get them the submission fee so they don't have to worry about paying that. And then let's get them some promotion as well. So you're beginning to understand structure. It's the people who come around you to help build the frame of the boat that you will sail into your future success. Now, how do you make a movie? Part 4, okay? You do it. You don't wait for permission. You don't ask for permission. You don't say that someone said no. You don't say that, well, I would if my mom said I could. No. The voice of the independent storyteller is so strong that it does not need permission, okay? Now there's legal stuff you got to do. You got to have releases for your locations. If you want to sell the project, that falls into a heading of things called deliverables, and that's much too much to get into right now. But my point to you is that you already have the right. Don't think that you don't have the right to do what you want to do in film or with story. Okay. Some of you want to be animators. I can tell you right now that if you go to fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, you can pay about $60 and have a short animated movie made for you by someone in another country. Now, are you exploiting their talent by hiring them? Absolutely not. Because the standards of the US are different than the standards in India, China, Germany, Spain, France, wherever. And in some cases, the standards in other countries are much higher than the standards here, and our people seem to be exploited. But what I'm suggesting to you with structure, you can go to Fiverr and you can make an animated film. Someone else will do the whole thing for you. I had a guy that made one last year. I think he spent $225, but he wrote it, he produced it, and he directed it, but they did the animation, okay? That also is structure, right? So what I'm suggesting to you is that you have all these combinations of ways that you can go forward to make your dream come true. So we talked about those first 4 concepts, and I want to leave you with those concepts now because that's all I want you to grasp. I want you to understand that whatever story is, again, by a show of hands, how many people have a story in their mind that they want to do, or an idea or a concept of something they'd like to produce? There we go. Beautiful. And if we wait long enough, we're going to see every hand go up. Do you know why that is? It's because that story was planted in you a long time ago. And it was developed by how you live, by your family, by your interest, by all the things you put into your brain. I'm sorry, was that a question? I'm sorry, I thought it was my ex-wife. I apologize. I get flashbacks sometimes. Kenya will explain that. So when you think about that idea, it's been formed by everything you put into your head. Now, I had a friend, and there's nothing wrong with rap music, but I had a friend, and he had a newborn, and I was going by his car one day, and I said, dude, that music's so loud, the baby's in the back. And he said, oh, no, he likes it. I said, no, he doesn't like it. I can promise you he doesn't like it. A lot of you don't understand that music, like movies, like TV, like poetry, right, influences how you behave. If I show you violent videos all day long on YouTube, what do you think you're going to do when you go out in the street and see a chance to be violent? You're going to be violent. If I show you films about art and beauty and love and compassion, what do you think you're going to want? You're going to want to have those things in your life as well, right? So think about your audience now. We've done the first 4 rules. You should have written those down, but think about now your audience. How are they going to receive your content? And there's a big thought between artists. It used to be someone say, well, I don't create art for the world. I create art for me. And if the world likes it, good. That is the worst artist on the planet, okay? That is the biggest liar on the planet. There's no one who showcases or creates work that doesn't want their work to be loved. But keep in mind your audience, okay? Keep in mind what you're feeding them and what you're giving them, because they are the ones who are going to support you in the future. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Lydia.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mr.
Just
Weston.
call me Del, please. It's just Del.
Okay, thank you. So Del, you were talking about influence earlier. So I want to know what are your thoughts on the Joker movie that came out last year?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm so absolutely glad, because Batman was created about 40 years before I was born, okay? 30 years before I was born. I'm trying to date myself, about 30 years, okay? And the Batman that came out then completely morphed and changed based on the influences of the world and not vice versa. If you watch the first Batman, which was done by Joel Schumacher, it was a cartoon. Starred Val Kilmer and what's his name? The other one, George Clooney in the first ones. They were jokes. But in the short period of time of 20 years between that first film coming out and the new film that was done by Todd, that you guys probably saw, the viciousness in that film, the violence in that film, and the lack of humanity in that film are completely eclipsed by the quality of the production and the writing. That is scary, that someone can show you that much violence and no one walked out of the theater. They cheered and they felt good about the Joker. That is the essence of storytelling, to influence the audience's experience. And in that film, they did that. Now I ask you the question, young lady, what did you think of the Joker?
What I thought about the Joker was, I thought it was so grounded in reality that I guess the people, they felt some sort of connection through what he told. But like at the end, I'm not sure that story that Joker told was real, because he keeps saying, I remember my past one way and some days another. And yeah, like
so
multiple choice.
That's such a brilliant observation on your part, because someone tried to pull the wool over your eyes by using illness and sickness and a skinny body and mental anguish from his mother about who his father was, but they didn't fool you. Look how brilliant you are that you saw through that trap, because many people fell for it and they had sympathy for the Joker and they felt bad for the guy who killed all those people and who wanted to rape that woman down the hall, right? Oh, see, you never thought about that, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't
That's
know.
right. They want to get you to do and think things you would never think. That is the influence of film. And that is the scariest part of it, okay? So when you think about any movie you watch, anything you watch, remember, it's an influence of you. If you'll go back to the last Avengers film, the big one they did, right? The Civil War film, I guess that's what it was, or the one with Thanos, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you start looking at the themes of that film, what were they trying to influence you into believing? Now, I ask you that. It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer. But I ask you that because you're the same wizard. You're the same magician, and you'll be doing the same things. So I'll give you an example, because you brought up Joker. There were 3 main lenses used on that camera: a 50, a 105, and of course the 32, right? And each of those focal lengths gives you an emotion and a feeling, right? But no one will tell you that. The lighting became a character. So the more you get into this business, you're going to start developing yourself and learning new things. And wait a minute, are you telling me, Mr. Weston, that if I turn this light, this color down on your camera, you're going to look different if we turn it off? Yeah, turn it off. Let's put it back on. Let's turn it up real bright, and let's see what happens in this room, right? The lighting can deceive you. Softer lighting on beautiful brown skin becomes perfection. It is only white skin that requires the makeup to give it texture and depth and beauty and gloss. And that's not a racist statement, because Max Factor spent billions of dollars developing makeup to make that skin look perfect, right? Because it's shallow. Look at my skin. It's shallow compared to your skin, right?
Thanks.
Well, look at the picture. You can see. And I've got a pretty good camera. I've got lights in my room. I need them because I want to be pretty like most of you. One day, Kenya told me, he said, I thought you were pretty till I met you. I said, sorry to disappoint. He goes, well, you did. So Kenya's right on it. So remember, you're influencing, and the lights can influence, and the sound can influence. If you want to really enjoy a good movie like Joker, turn the sound off. Watch it without the sound. Watch the cuts. Watch you will still feel the same emotion just from the imagery. And that's one more thing for you to do. Think about what you look at every day. Now, for me, I go on Pinterest and Instagram. I probably look at maybe 5,000 images a day. Every day, my wife says, what in the world are you doing? You're not even looking at bikini girls. I go, I know, I'm looking at everything. And here's why. Because what I see, I return to the world. So I discount everything that's bad. I bring in everything that's good, and then I try and use it in my films. It might be I see a picture of a horse, right? Standing in a certain position with the camera at a right angle. Well, I'm going to take that angle later for my work because I love that angle. Now, as soon as you begin taking film apart that way, and I don't want you to go to 50 different classes. I want you to make a movie. I want you to make something. I want you to get your cell phone out today. I bought a whole cell phone setup for this stupid phone, and I shot with it, and it's kind of dumb, but it works. I also have, great 4 and 6K cameras at my disposal. I can pretty much get whatever I want. And so can you. That's the beauty of where we are right now. That's the beauty of you not marching in the streets, but you documenting what's happening in the streets. Understand?
Yeah.
Good. Let's go on to our next subject, which is film festivals. Once your film is made, how do you get promotion for your film? Well, there's social media, there's YouTube, there's Vimeo, all these different sites. But the beauty of going to a film festival is seeing your work on that big, beautiful screen with an audience of your friends and your supporters. There is nothing like it. Vin Diesel's father, Herman, brought a group of kids from Brooklyn to my show one year, about 20 kids. And they were just amazed at what they learned from everybody who was there, right? So what I'm saying with that is maybe there's a few people in this class together who want to work together on a project. Consider that for just a moment. Is there someone who shares your vision and wants to work with you or like you? Never depend on that person, because people will come and go. But what stays is your persistence and drive, your structure, your idea, right? Your determination. Those things always stay. So even though people come along to help you, don't depend on them, right? But always be dependable. And here's why I tell you that. If you walk into a movie set not knowing anything, if you are dependable, I've had people who've started out as PAs move up to producers on my movies. I did a film in LA recently called Dandelion Season. And they raised a lot of money. They didn't know how to do it. They hired me to come in because I ghost a lot of projects. The beauty of it was I brought a couple of people in, and one was from China. She was exiled from China. She had been kicked out because she did a movie, a short film about the unrest in Hong Kong. So while she was here in LA doing post on the film, the Chinese government knocked on her family's door in China. And they said, took them to lunch and said, if she comes back, we'll put her in jail or kill her. Basically, that's what they told her. When I met her, she was a PA. By the time she was done, she's now one of my producing partners, right? Because she was dedicated and she learned everything. Once you're exposed on a set to things, you're going to start to pick up your own ideas and concepts. And so I suggest very heavily that you find an internship on a film. And how you do that is you volunteer as a PA. But there's something inside you, and I want you to stick to this, okay? Because too many people have sold their souls for a little part in a movie. They think it's something that it's not. You guys are innocent to this point. You are clean at this point. Do not let anyone put you in a position where you do not feel comfortable. That little something in your gut goes off. You got to listen to it. So try and find a film that is real. It's harder now because of COVID. So a lot less films are being made, and because people are not returning to schools in the same way, live productions have been cut probably by 9/10 at this point. Still not a bad thing, because I'll give you some resources like No Film School and others where you can go learn everything you know. The one thing you cannot get by watching a YouTube video, though, is experience. You don't know how to hold the camera, how to adjust the lights, what's the light temperature, what's the ISO, what's the exposure in the camera. All that stuff will come. So I want you just with broad strokes to go out and take your phone if you have it, or a camera if you have it, and I want you to start shooting and seeing what a composition of a shot looks like to you, right? Why is this good? Why is this bad? Why are the lights not working for me? All these questions will be answered through your experience, okay? There is no substitute for experience, and the great experience best you can have is to make a movie or to write a script, because each time you do it, you're training yourself in how to create a world, right? You ever think about that? If you sit in your room one night, you're sitting there and you're saying, well, there's nothing on TV. I've seen all these shows and I don't want to go outside. What if I sat in here and created a world of my own? How many of you like Game of Thrones when it was on the air? A lot of you guys like Game of Thrones? Yeah. You know why you liked it so much? Because they influenced you by showing you a brand new world you didn't know exists. George R.R. Martin sat in his room and wrote something that probably, 3 billion people enjoyed? 3 billion people enjoyed. You have the exact same power. There's no difference between you guys. There's no difference between you and me, except I'm old. I am you and you are me. We're just at different points in time. So if I could make it, remember, I was a garbage man. Mhm. When I was 35, I lost a job, a very good job, paid about $250,000 a year. It was an easy job. And I got into a fight with my boss. I'd saved no money. I had the job for about 3 years. I was living high. Everything was great. But I lost the job. 6 months later, I was collecting cans on the street of Los Angeles. And no one knew, not my family, not my wife. I didn't tell anybody, but I was collecting cans, beer cans every day. And after about 3 months, I've been looking, I couldn't find a job literally for 2 years. It took me 2 years to find a job. And I am a talented, talented guy. But I was on a journey. And the funny thing that happened, my wife always tells me, how much stuff did you write in that 2 years? I probably wrote 60 scripts in 2 years while I was collecting cans. I would leave the house, wouldn't tell anybody, but I always smelled like beer. And one night my wife said, are you an alcoholic? I said, yeah, whatever you want to think, that's what I am. But what I was doing was putting food on the table and giving myself a chance to write. And I will always remember that time as one of the fondest times of my life. Not that I want you to struggle. There's nothing wrong with struggle. I don't want to see you go through it. So if you use your head and your structure, you're going to have a team around you who can help you go through those tough times. And unfortunately, I was alone. I didn't have a team. And that's something that I have to blame me for. But I will always look at that time and love it because it gave me a chance to write and hone my craft as a writer. And now I do pretty well as a writer. And I'm very happy with my position. Do you have any questions so far, gang? Anybody with a question? I see 2 screens. Good. Nope. All right, Kenya, I'm going to go into my final wrap up here, then, if that's okay with you.
Before you go to your final wrap up, can you tell them the importance of film festivals and markets?
Yes. The way that film festivals work, like I told you a while ago, is people would bring their films to a festival, and then there would be buyers there from all the studios, Miramax, 20th Century Fox, and these studios, Orchard Films, which is owned by Mark Cuban, they would go and they'd say, listen, I like your movie, I'd like to buy it. And people would sell their films outright. Now, there's a guy named Shane Carruth, I believe, Shane Carruth, I think is his name. He made a movie for about $8,000. He shot every frame himself, produced it all himself, took it to a festival, sold it for $2 million. He just did another film after about 6 years, horrible film, sucks horribly. But he sold it, but just wasn't as good as the first one. And the reason it wasn't as good as the first one was, on his first film, he listened to every piece of advice he could get. On the second film, they stopped listening, right? A festival is a place where you learn to listen because the audience is brutal. Now, if you have an audience full of friends, it's different. But if it's people who are just being real, they might tear your work to pieces. I remember a film I did called Sonny and Ray Ray. It was called Split. That's before Sonny and Ray Ray. That film, I packed a theater with that film. I cried making that film. I cried when it was done. The film goes on, half the audience leaves in the first 15 minutes. And these were my friends. By 30 minutes in, 3/4 of the audience was gone. By the end of the film, I had 20 people sitting there looking at me saying, there's something wrong with this guy. But they didn't leave. So a festival is where you go to create friendships and relationships and to get honest critique of your work. You'll also see where you are in the program with other people. And that's where you get your inspiration, right? Inspiration is so wonderful because it comes from all different sources. And a festival can help with that. Now, be very careful with festivals. A lot of them are scams. I started my festival because I went to a festival called the Northern California Film Festival. It was owned by a guy named John Madden. He is Madden Football. If anybody of you who know that his son started the festival, if you heard of John Madden Football, that's the football guy who owned that festival. And I got up there. I was pretty much the only minority. And I was treated like dirt. I went to the guy who ran it. I said, hey, bro, how you doing? He said, pretty good. I said, tell you what I'm going to do. He said, what? I'm going to put you out of business. I go, I never saw anybody treat people as badly as you do. And it was because of that my festival was born, right? And this is now our 17th year. We've had to postpone for COVID, but it's grown to roughly 17 festivals that happen simultaneously every year. 17 different chances for people to be seen and loved. So when you go to a festival, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're also going to develop a thicker skin, okay? Because when someone says your movie sucks and you suck too, you got to wonder why they didn't separate it. Well, can I still be a nice guy even though you hate my movie? No, you can't. We hate you too, right? And it hurts, but you learn from it. Wow, what a great experience. I had a girl one time tell me, "You are sick. You're disgusting. You make me see you. Your films are crap." I said, "Mom, listen, that's a little rough. That's a little rough." But I got her critique and it was okay. So festivals can be the best thing for you, but remember this, it has changed now. And they're going to put your work online. Don't let anybody show your work online. Don't let anybody tell you this is the better way to go. No, you build your own channel on YouTube. It's free. You build your own channel on Vimeo. It's free. And you begin showing people your stuff, sending it out, contacting people like me and say, "Mr. Weston or Dell, or whatever you want to call me, how do I get this film to the next level? What do I do? And what do I need to do to make it better?" And we're going to help. Okay. I'm not the biggest film. It's kind of funny because I own a festival, but I'm not the biggest film festival guy because I've been to quite a few shows around the world. And I got to tell you, Kenya was right. We try and do it better and different than anyone else because we put all our money back into the filmmakers and writers. We don't live off the money from this show. I spend almost $300,000 a year just producing that show. That's my own money. That's not government money or grant money or charity money. That's dollars out of my children's mouth. And my kids are younger than most of you. They're only 12 and 13. They began making movies when they were 4 and 5. And now, of course, I had cameras and stuff all over the house. It was easy for them to do it. But they wanted to, and they made their last film, I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. So that's been over 6 years of still doing it. All right, so I'm going to wrap up now and give you guys the greatest points of this talk so far. You hold in your hands the future of this country and of the world with regards to storytelling. You, nobody else. Because if you let somebody else tell that story, they're not going to tell the story that's about you. They're going to tell someone else's story, and you will be left in the dust one more time, right? Many of you have parents or grandparents who loved you to death, and their story should be told, or an aunt, or a friend, or someone who did something heroic or brave or strong. Something that affected you. That's the story you've got to tell, okay? That's the only thing that you're responsible for as a storyteller, is the authenticity and the truth in that story as you see it. Don't let anyone take your concepts and ideas away from you. The thought of technically being challenged from making a film is a lie, because all the tools are in your hands. Now, no, you're not going to make a $50 million movie your first time out, nor should you. I had a TV show on Spike. It was my first $1 million paycheck. It was called Reality Racing, the Rookie Challenge. I'd made a friend at Paramount Pictures by a guy named Alan Bailey. He was the longest running executive in Hollywood. He was a comptroller for Paramount. He controlled all the money. And I met him as a favor to someone else. Before I knew it, we were friends. Within, I don't know, a year, I was at Paramount once a week having meetings, and he was setting them up for me to get jobs. And the second thing I went to was $1 million job. Now, I was scared out of my wits. It was 32 cameras, a crew of 65 people. I mean, and I was in charge of all of it, right? The biggest thing I'd done to that point was a film for about $9,000. So you can imagine, someone hands you $3 million and says, "Get to work." And when I say $1 million, it was the first $1 million job, my first check was $1 million. That's what I'm telling you how good this show was. It came from sitting in my room, just like you're doing right now, wanting something, right? Wanting something. And then I wanted to work with the biggest celebrities in the world. And that just started happening without me even having to think about it. It just started going on. And I've done that through the festivals, people I've met, because those people at those festivals, they want to work just as much as you want to put them to work. Never be afraid of asking a celebrity to work for you. Never. And never, you go to the biggest one you got and you say, "Hey, I need your help. Will you be in my movie?" But do not waste their time, right? I guess what I'm saying in general is that all of you have power, whether you think you do or not. And that power is your voice. And how do you use your voice? You make something that other people can be influenced by or entertained by or thrilled by or frightened by. If you like to do horror movies. I'm not a big fan of horror movies. That's just me personally. They scare me too much. I'm scared of everything. Oh, what's that? Sorry, that was my shadow. It scared me. So I want you guys just to take those few notes from me. And if you all have pencils, write this down, please. This is the most important thing you're going to do today. actiononfilmfest.com. actiononfilmfest.com, actiononfilmfest.com. That show, that site will take you to about 16, 17 festivals. And I think that, how many people in this room right now, Kenya? Total, 27. I'm gonna send you 27 waivers, one for each person in this room. If you'd like, it is, Tisa, what's my email? Del Weston at Action on Film?
To send the request?
No, Del at Action on Film. actiononfilmfest.com. Del. So my email address is del at actiononfilmfest.com. Del, D-E-L, at actiononfilmfest.com. Any one of you who needs help that I can structure and help you, I will do so. That's a gift for Kenya, who's giving you a gift. Okay? If you want to see any of my films, you can just look me up. I've got probably 700 episodes of my talk show, 20 films, I don't know, 30 episodic shows, and it's been a very long career, and I'm just beginning to scratch the surface. In the next 2 years, I'm launching a distribution studio, and it's funny, people will find you out. There's an old black star named Sammy Davis Jr., who some of you may know the name, many of you don't. One of the most talented men who ever lived, right? But he came around the 60s. He had to go, he would perform on the stages in Las Vegas, but he had to walk through the back door. So a great producer named Dick Enright produced all these big shows and movies and TV shows. He did a series of shows with Sammy Davis Jr., and no one ever saw them. Guess what I signed the rights to 2 weeks ago? Every one of those shows, and there are hundreds of them.
Wow, wow.
Everyone in this process will be made rich by shows that we found sitting in a garage for the last 35 years.
Wow.
But because I had the knowledge of how to ingest the films, re-edit the film, output the film with a higher resolution, it came to me. So just by being in the business and knowing a little bit of something, someone came to me and said, can you handle this? And I said, absolutely, I can. And we're launching the whole thing in about 6 months. So you're gonna find things that will allow you to grow outside of this, but always maintain your voice, okay? And now finally, the big gift. Drum roll, please. Look at, when you go to that website, you'll see a magazine on the front cover. I don't make this promise very often, but I'm gonna make it today. Out of these 20, you have a 1 in 26, not 1 in 25 chance, because there's 27 people with Kenya and I.
Yes, yes.
One of you is going to win a full cover story in that magazine. So look at the magazine on the front page of the website. Okay, Kenya's going to pick the winner, not me.
Wow.
Whoever he picks, you're going to get a full-on 12 to 20 page profile on you and your future. And when you do that, I'm going to ask every AOF filmmaker that I know, which is probably around, I don't know, 50, 75,000 people. I'm going to ask them to help you in some way when you reach out. Okay, so I don't want to just come and talk to you. I want to come in here and help you change your futures for the better. And you'll find that we are in earnest and completely open to helping you in any way that we can. I will not give you money. Money will not solve your problem. Your problem is not money yet. Your problem is concept, idea, story, and follow through. That's your issue right now. I can help you get, last year, Boris Effects called and said, hey, we want to help some of the kids you work with. And we were able to give out $400,000 in software last year. Free, take it, here you go, have a nice day, all right? If Kenya had a company he wanted to approach and say, I have a class of 25 kids and we'd like to get this software, that, we would help them do it through my charity, right? That's the structure I told you about. Structure makes everything easy, huh?
Wow.
And now you got 2 great resources. It's 8:58. I've been talking for about 45 minutes. Any questions before I go?
Okay.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Del.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you also use the iPhone camera to make films?
Yes, and here's why I do it. Because I'm old, right? And my hands are giant. I've got hands the size of bear. I mean, to hold, this is a giant phone. I can barely press the buttons. That's how big my hands are. But the thing is, it's a new tool. And if you don't put tools in your chest, it's hard digging with just your hands, right? When the ground is cold and hard, you can't dig much with your hand, but you get a shovel and a pick, man, it makes fast work. This phone is fast work. I use it to capture everything when I'm outside, anything that's going on around me, any special occasion. And then, you know, I do little special things as well for me, because I create a lot of stuff. When you look at my website, you'll start to understand the film has taken over my existence on this planet. There's nothing more, besides God, there's nothing more important to me than story. You know, of course, my family's up there, and one of my kids, maybe. Okay.
Wow.
Any other questions before we go?
Del,
Thank you all for your time. It's been a blessing. Thank you all. God bless you all.
Del, I want to tell you, this has been a wonderful experience. Young people, you don't know what you just got in your hands. Now, I'm telling you, right, remember this filmmaker, this old guy said, you don't know what you got in your hands right now. This industry is an industry that is so tough. To get to someone like him, you got his email address. You can even write Del just to ask him a question about what he thinks about your idea.
Absolutely, whatever you need.
Or just write him and tell him hello. Because in this industry, you're going to need contacts. And now, not only do you have contacts, you have a way into a festival without paying, one of the best festivals in the world. And you have a connection now to, let me tell you something. Del knows everybody in the industry. He knows everybody. You have a connection to everyone in the industry. And that is, I didn't know Del was going to do these things. I really appreciate. I was sitting here almost ready to cry. See, I'm a sensitive guy.
Do you know why? Do you know why I did it? Because no one ever did it for me.
Wow.
That's why I did it. And do you understand that if I had someone like Kenya in my life when I was your age, where I would be today? You have no clue. Your possibilities are endless, but you have to have some sort of structure and people to guide you by. That's it. I'm sorry to interrupt, Kenya. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm just excited. Listen, guys. We went through interviewing this morning, and I'm not going to let Del go until we get 3 questions from our interviewers. So,
well, I see a question here. The first question is, do you believe video games make kids act violent?
okay.
I believe that any young mind that is inundated with any type of forced sound, visual, and emotion combined, it can destroy anything. So I'll give you an example. There's something that people use in PSYOPs, which is psychological operations, which is they will put something in front of your eyes and they will put something in your ears, and they can literally change how you think, okay? So if I take a video game and I force you in front of a video game for 6, 8, 10 hours, sometimes, many of you do that already. When you dream, you'll see the colors of the video games and you hear the noise in your dreams. Any of you ever do that now? When you play video games to a point where you see them even after you stop watching them?
Wow.
That is known as an after effect. The after effect stays with you. So it causes you to do things that you're not sure of because your mind is not clear and focused on what you're doing, because that second mind is running and all that violence and things that you had and heard and seen. And I think anything that is not tuned to create a positive connection in your brain, for instance, the kid I told you about with the rap music, okay? That poor kid is a mess. He lives in the worst part of LA. He's now 11 years old and he's a mess. Now, by comparison, from the time my wife found out she was pregnant until my children were about 5, we played nothing but classical music. Well, why is that? It is proven that classical music is based on mathematics. And so by listening to classical music, you are literally allowing the brain to form more quickly, and the connections called synapses in between the neurons and the cells to create bigger and stronger connections for a stronger mind. It is easy for me to tell you this because both of my children have been homeschooled for the last 8 years, and they are in the top 2% nationally of all academic. Okay? That didn't happen just because we taught them. That was those connections, right? So I hope that answers that question.
Fantastic. Anybody else have a question? We had some, like I said, we had some great interviews this morning, Dale. And I'm going to call one or say 2 or 3 people and let them interview you for 2 or 3 questions. Because,
Sure,
because they've gotten it, they mastered, they understand it. We're going to start with.
let me tell them. Wait, we have interviewers. Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah.
For all of you in this room right now, tonight I want you to watch ABC News. Okay, right? ABC. And on Channel 7 News, ABC, you're gonna see a young Black girl. Her name is Rachel Scott. She was just named a correspondent to the White House to follow the president. Okay, you know where Rachel Scott got her start? Her friend called and said, "Mr. Weston, she wants to meet you and come hang out." We gave her first job at AOF. She did interviews for a full season, over 350 interviews. Guess what she does for a living now at ABC? She's an interviewer.
Wow.
But she get all of her on-camera training. She started out just like you guys did. Look her up, Rachel Scott.
Great. So I'm going to call Shanasia. I just saw you, Shanasia. Are you still here? Oh, there you are. Excellent. Shanasia did a great interview this morning. I interviewed her, and then she got to interview someone. Shanasia,
I love the hat.
Yeah. Come off mute.
I love the hat.
Thank you. I want to ask, why film? Did you have any other things that you found interesting? And
yes, I'm a frustrated artist, and so I owned an art gallery for a while. But I also write books. I also do poetry. I also do limited music and lyrics, and I make myself happy with my creations. I really do, and I don't think that I'm limited in any way. And that only comes when you understand that a lot of you have constraints on you. You think you have constraints. Well, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or dad's mad, or someone. All that stuff just leads you into your mind. And in your mind, you have complete and total freedom. You begin to develop yourself in ways that you, so yes, I did more than just film. Film's just one of the things that I do.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That was a great question. Destiny. Destiny, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Destiny.
Right. Can you come on camera? And I'd like for you to give Dell a question.
Oh my fucking God.
Okay.
He's only asking you to ask to help develop you, but don't ask a question if you don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't even want you to ask a question if you don't feel comfortable doing it, sweetheart.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I need, yeah.
Right. You don't have to if you.
No.
So you rather for us to pass on your Destiny? So.
Yes.
Okay. So, Linnea, let me tell you, Linnea, you have a career ahead of you, because we see the light in your eyes and the excitement. So please go ahead and ask another question, young lady.
Thank you. It's just I'm so curious about like this industry. What I want to know is, how long does it take to make a film? Like it could go from weeks or like years.
My average time is 3 years. Once I start the process, it takes me about 36 months. And I have a new film coming out called Trick. Not for you guys. It's a tough film, but that took me 3 years and 2 months. And it wasn't because of me. It's because of the downstream people who get involved: the editors, the sound, the music, and the color correction. And each one of those jobs is separate. Now you can I could have turned the movie in 6 months after I made it. Just wouldn't have been very good. But remember, when you make a film, you're making something that will last forever. And also, what was the young girl's name who didn't want to ask the question? What was her name?
Destiny.
Hey, Destiny, just so you know, when I was just a little bit older than you, a guy approached me and said, "Hey, I saw some of your work on this thing, and I'd like to, if you want to intern with me, you can." And I said, "Sure." I was so scared when I went to lock in for the internship. I'm standing in front of the door of the place 10 minutes early, but I was so scared I couldn't ring the bell. So finally, like a minute after the time is, I ring the bell and he goes, you're late. Get away from my door and don't come back. You're not serious. I was just scared. I was just, that cost me. But I realized then, you know, I want to be very careful with everybody. So Linnea, yeah, it takes a little time, but again, you can, depending on the budget, like with my TV show, on some of the shows I've had, like I had a show on NBC, I had a show on Spike, I had a show on ESPN. Those shows were produced the week that the shows aired. So on a TV show, we produced the show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We cut it on Thursday, Friday, and we would air it on Saturday. So there's a big difference between TV and film.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people got sick on that show. You see a lot of ulcers. Whenever you see a lot of money, look for people to be sick, okay? Because the stress is overwhelming. I had a guy I brought along with me. He went from making $600 a week. I think I was paying him $27.50 a week, every single week, right? This guy had a breakdown at one point. He was in charge. He didn't even have to do the work. He was just in charge of the other editors. This guy had basically a nervous breakdown. His name is Josh Neufeld. You can find him on Facebook. You know, he broke down.
Whoa.
But that's why movies take 3 years. You can get it done because you'll lose your mind, you know, if you're working on a project where there's any real money involved.
Oh, yeah. Jacob.
Wow.
Thank you, Lanaya. Jacob?
Yeah.
Would you like to ask Del one question?
Well, how do you feel about like other mediums besides like movies or like books or something to like tell stories?
You have I want to express to you how important that question is. The very first movies that anyone ever saw, the very first ones were cave drawings in France, okay? And these cavemen would go in and draw pictures of the great hunt, and they'd use old charcoal from a fire, and they'd draw on the cave walls, they use pigment and things like that. Those were the first movies. The very first story ever written or told in the history of man is called Gilgamesh, okay? Gilgamesh, right? That story survived for centuries and eons, right? So movies is just one way to tell a story. There's so much more. There's collage, there's paintings, there's drawing, there's animation, right? All these things, poetry, music. Every song you hear that you like, that's good, is a story. It's a story of that performer's life, or his or her troubles, or his or her love, or his or her excitement, or his or her touring the world. It's all a story. Rap is successful because it tells stories. Rap is not successful because of the beat. Rap is successful because it tells the story of a history of a people that began with the acknowledgement of hip hop, okay? Now the story was told before that. It used to be called The Dozens, and many of you know Nick Cannon's show Wild and Out. That stuff was being done in slave days, whereas black slaves, in order to deal with their turmoil and trouble, they would make fun of each other, and they would do what was called The Dozens. And that became Nick Cannon's show. That's a story too. It's not a movie, but it's a story, Jacob. So any medium you can choose that you can get your teeth into where you feel excited about it, that's your place, man. What's your focus, Jacob? What are you thinking of?
Well, because I'm more interested in like stories I make that aren't based on reality. So
what do you think?
I'm not sure.
What would the medium be for that type of a story?
I think it'd be like probably something like writing in the book, or like maybe making something.
Wow.
I don't know.
Now look at you. Now look at you. You know who some of the richest people in the world are? Period. Authors. Authors. Oh yeah. Think about that, man. See, it's a funny thing. When you decide to work hard, there's something called remuneration at the end of it. The way you know your work has quality is someone's willing to pay for it. Always remember that. I've been selling artwork, horrible artwork that I produced for years. If you look behind me, I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a print, there's a John Lennon print behind me over my shoulder. Can you guys see that? Right up here, up the top of my shoulder. Can you see it over my right shoulder? There's a print of artwork. That's called John Lennon #9. I saw that paint. There were 9 3-foot paintings this artist had done. And I said, hey, can I see those? He said, sure. So I took a picture of each one. I made that print behind me. And then I told the story of that print by selling out 10,000 posters and lithographs. That was my story.
Wow.
I made a story. I took those pictures, put them together as a lithograph, put a peace sign under it, and took it to the Beatle Fest that used to travel from New York to Chicago to LA.
Wow.
I never said it was easy. I never said it was easy. I said it was fulfilling, and it's wonderful. People gave me, for each one of those prints, $250, right? And then for the posters, they gave me another 25. Then I created all these T-shirts and stuff. I was always creating, right? And so you can do the same thing. Don't limit yourself to just one thing. Jacob, if you write a book, you might find that you want to write the screenplay and maybe someone else directs it or produces it, but it's yours, like George R.R. Martin in Game of Thrones, right? He didn't produce anything, he just wrote it, but he wrote it beautifully, huh? And his imagination gave so many other people pleasure, to the point where people were violent about the seasons of Game of Thrones. Was it a good season? Was it a bad season? They were vicious because they were so vested in it, and they paid so much for that cable to get it, to be able to see that movie on that show. 30, 40, $50 million spent an episode? What the heck? Someone liked it. I hope that answers your question, young man.
Yeah, that did. Thank you.
And I see Frida just came on, and that would be the last question of the day will be from Frida.
Hi, Frida.
I actually had a question about the poetry, right? Because I also write poetry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a film production major at Brooklyn College.
Nice.
So I'm currently working on my thesis, but I'm also like writing poetry on the side.
You go, girl.
What kind of poetry did you write?
I have a new book coming out. It's called Love and Other Subjects of Great Importance. If you guys wait a second, I will put a link up so you can see it, the cover of the book. And I tend to write poetry about love and pain. If you look like me, if you look like me and you're 10 years old, no girl will speak to you. And that hurts. Ooh, that hurts. A lot of you know what rejection's about, whether you're a girl or a boy. You know what it's like. You felt that pain of rejection. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to embrace that feeling like there's no tomorrow. That's the best thing that ever could have happened to you. The guy or girl you liked is a scumbag. They were not right for you. It's moment, but that pain you will always have, and that pain you can always depend on to help you tell your stories and to be real with it, huh? That's the key, to actually be real and to feel it. So in this book, Love and Other Subjects of Great Importance, I used a program called iBook Author. It's free from Apple. iBook Author. Now, the beauty of this thing is, as soon as you publish your book from your computer, it goes into all the stores on Apple. So I've got 3 books up there: the top 100 indie filmmakers in the world, the top 50 independent writers in the world. Those are the books that I've already produced. You can find those on Amazon. I mean, on Apple. But this program allows you to put video inside the book. And so what I did was I took pictures of all these beautiful models that I loved, all these friends of mine, gorgeous, gorgeous people. And then I took my poetry and matched the poetry to the picture. And then one thing that helped me, Jacob, you'd be interested in this. I recorded the poem with my own voice, and then I recorded the poem with music under me. And as you read the book, you can press a button and the poem will be read to you, right? So we've used technology, we've used art, we've used beauty, we've used pain, we've used love, all those things. Purple, blue, red, yellow, green, flashing across the sky, leaving trails of mist and gold for the lucky to follow you by, right? That's the beginning of one of my poems, right? If there's a choice, I know there is, by your side I will be seen, flashing across the sky, God, purple, blue, red, yellow, green. Okay. That was my poem to God. You know, he likes poetry too.
Wow.
And he's always listening to you. And if you listen back, he'll help you. Right? That's no joke.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. That was really, really beautiful. All right, so guys.
Also, when I began writing poetry, girls started liking me more. I don't know.
That's great. No, sorry, that's called iBook Apple.
Yes, It's Apple. It's called iBook Author. And it's free. You got to look it up, guys. It's easy to use. I train myself. Every program I learn, everything from Premiere to photo, I train myself in every. I went to college for art, but I studied painting and drawing and graphic design without computers. It was just done by hand. But this program, I mean, this can change your life. I mean, if you want to come out, this is such a great way. Jake, if you want to write a book, you could write your book and publish it in 3 or 4 days and have the world look at it. I mean, what a move so fast to be able to do that instantly. It's just amazing.
That is great.
I hope you get a chance to see it.
That is great. Listen, guys, I know you're on mute, but let's give Dell a round of applause for everything that he
Back at you.
You know, wow.
You guys.
And Dell, I'm sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for coming. You know, I love you.
Anytime. Anytime.
I love what you're about to do for these young men and the women here.
Absolutely.
I'm overwhelmed. Listen, so guys, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to come back at 12:30 so you can stretch, get some water, whatever you need to do. In 10 minutes, we're going to come back. Then we're going to go and we're going to do the last hour. We're going to talk about flexibility changes. Dale mentioned how the industry is changing. Well, today we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to start us out. We're going to look at a video, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to talk about it. It's called Humans Need Not Apply, and it's about the changing world. All right? But right now, go and enjoy your 10-minute break. It's going to be great, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get this thing up, running, and on the road. Del, thank you so much, young man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to meet you. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Great. Fantastic. Fantastic. It's 12:31, so we're going to get started. Whoa. That was a lot of good information. A lot of good stuff to wrap our heads around. I know everyone here is not thinking about a career in filmmaking. Some of you may be here just because, you know, it's something to do. But what you just got, you know, I just want you to sort of know where you're sitting. This industry is all about contacts. It's all about being able to meet people. And once you meet them, being able to get them to verify who you are or what it is you're about. One of the reasons I was able to make a living in the film industry and do all the films that I've done and, you know, continue to get good things happen and all that is because when I was your age, I actually met a director who's my godfather, right? But my godfather is a director of some of the biggest motion pictures in the industry. And he never gave me anything, but he taught me everything, right? You want to be like this. You don't want anyone to give you anything. No one have to give you money, but you want them to open the door for you and give you the opportunity to prove yourself to be who you are, right? You want to be able to prove yourself. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen to you over and over and over again, no matter who you're connected to or who gets you in the door. It's going to be your own enthusiasm, your own thinking, your own work that's going to take you to the next level. Dell talked about $1 million check. Is there anybody here who has received $1 million check before? And is there anybody here who wants to receive $1 million check, right? Right? The only way you're gonna do it is if you get the information from people who's already done it, who you associate with in this business, who you associate with in any business or in life is gonna determine where you're gonna go. If you ever look at a corner and you see 4 drug addicts and there's a 5th person hanging with them, there's going to be a 5th drug addict. If you look at 4 businessmen and 4 successful businessmen and there's a 5th guy hanging with them, there's going to be another great businessman. And I'm not telling you who to choose your friends, right? Or who you choose as your business partners, but who you are around, what you soak in is going to help to determine who you're going to be. Remember, I told you in the beginning that in order to be a filmmaker, there's a mindset. There's a mindset. You guys are going to be independent filmmakers. You have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think like an entrepreneur. I want you ready at every turn. Be prepared. In the Boy Scouts, they used to say, be prepared. And they used to say that, but what it means is that whatever you're choosing as your career or what it is you want to do, or even if it's your hobby, you got to be prepared because you don't know, excuse me, you don't know when opportunity is going to knock at your door. We're going to talk a little more about festivals. So festivals is where you go to meet people, where you go to get awards, have your film compete to see if your film have any value, right? That's what happens at festivals, most festivals. At the Action on Film Festival and some of those festivals that he told you that are connected to them, distributors come there. Because once you get your film made, you want your film picked up. And you get your film picked up by getting distribution or distributors for your film. Now, distributors is what everyone talk about, But what they mean is acquisition executives. That's the person in the studios, in the big studios, the people that buy film and dole out money are called acquisition executives. Those are the people you want to be connected with also. Now, we just found something else out. I didn't know this until today. Dell is starting a distribution channel, a distribution chain. I didn't know that, but it makes sense because he's been in the industry. He's already successful. He got a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? So it just makes sense. And guess what? Because of where you are and where you're sitting today, you could be some of the first people he get to distribute your project or your projects. Your project can be the first because you now have a door into Hollywood. You have a door. And you don't, and this is the other thing, this is really great. You don't have to go through me. Or you don't have to go through Miss Adler. All you gotta do is write down and tell them, hey, look, I was in your class. I was with Kenya. And guess what? You said such and such, such and such. So I have a question for you. You're gonna get free waivers to the Action on Film International Film Festival. Use those waivers. There's 17 other festivals that happen at the same time with the Action on Film International Film Festival. I know there's some of you wanted, I think it's Marcus, is interested in doing action films. No, I think it's Mario who want to do action films. This is your way in. Every action star in the world goes to that festival or have been to that festival at different points. So just so you know, you're in. You're in. I mean, someone said they want to do games. You are in. You're in the industry because you now have that number and that contact. What you have to do is grow, develop, be prepared, and be ready. Because the time we call you may not be the time you're ready, or the time they call you may not be the time you're ready, right? But once you get all the basics and you got all your stuff going, you're gonna always be ready. So festivals is for that, it's to increase the value. Now, films are sold at markets. And this is something a lot of filmmakers who've been doing film for years, they don't know the difference between a festival and a market. A festival is for the awards, the competition, to increase the value. The markets is where the distribution takes place. That's where the business happens. That's where you're gonna look eye to eye, one-on-one with people with money, and you're gonna sell your product. You're gonna tell them why they need it. You're gonna go and you're gonna get the deals. You're gonna sign the deals. You're gonna sign them because you're gonna do one-on-one. You know, I have 2 $1 million deals out on some films that I've done. They're on Amazon Prime right now, right? $1 million deals. That's because I went to the festivals and you gotta be around the people who you wanna be like. You wanna be like somebody, you gotta be around them. If you're a hunter and you're hunting for rabbits, you have to go where the rabbits are. If you're hunting for moose, you gotta go where the moose are. And then you have to know something about the rabbits and something about the moose, right? Flexibility, entrepreneurship, don't be afraid, make mistakes. And this is the other thing, your movies don't have to be perfect. None of my movies are perfect. Not one. I have not one perfect film. But my films are out there and they're bringing in an income and they're in the independent world, right? You don't have to be perfect. You just got to do it. So today, if you get anything from what is going on today, you just honed your interview skills. You know all that about that. You know how to write now. You know what to do. Even Dell went over the script writing, right? You know all these things now. The biggest thing now is to do it and not to wait. Do it, make mistakes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Really quick story, then we're gonna go into the video. I graduated from New York Film Academy in the year 2000. Some of you were just, were just born around that time, or wasn't even born yet. I graduated from New York Film Academy around that time. There was a young woman who was in class with me, and she's a dynamite filmmaker. When I say she's dynamite, every project she ever submitted was perfect. Perfect coloring, perfect sound, perfect lights, and we were doing it in film at that time too. And she had the money, it was beautiful. Her stuff was beautiful. We got out, I created my company in 2004. And when I created my company, we started doing movies and showing them all around the world and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't hear from her in a long time. When I finally met her, when I finally seen her again in 2006, I'm like, hey, Daphne, what you been doing? You been doing any movies? She said, no, Kenny, I'm not doing movies. I'm not doing it. I just gotta make sure I got this right, that right, the other thing. And that went on for several years. To this day, she has not completed a movie because she wants her movies to be perfect. She wants the coloring right. She wants the sound right. You don't have to have it perfect. The sound don't have to be right. The coloring don't have to be there. When Dell mentioned some of the critique you get, I would get criticized all the time about not having lights on my film. I didn't have money for lights, so I shot them anyway. And I made money anyway, right? There's a lot of ways to make money. We're gonna go over, on the next time we get together, we're gonna go over distribution, the ways of making money in film, how to make money in film. We're gonna go over independent ways to make money. As entrepreneurs, what you can do to make money. And not just that, how do you make money consistently so that if you choose, you don't have to do anything else except make movies. And it won't make you famous or anything like that, but you will be known in the industry where it counts, and you will be able to eat and you will be able to have money. Sounds good? Now, what we're going to do, flexibility, I tell you, is very important thing. And we're going to look at a 15-minute film, and I got to get it, called Humans Need Not Apply. Then after we see that film, we're going to discuss it. Okay, so just give me a moment. Okay, I have to call it up again. So I don't know what I did with it. Humans need not apply. Okay, I found it. I just gotta get the screen up. There's a commercial in it right now. I'm gonna get past the trailer. There you go, we're gonna skip the ad. You know, it's funny, most of my friends are filmmakers and stuff, and we still have problems working YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But I got it right. There you go. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be. All right. So we're gonna look at this film, and after we see this film, we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna discuss what's going on.
to make our work easier, from sticks to plows to tractors. Every human used to have to hunt or gather to survive, but humans are smartly lazy, so we made tools to make our work easier. From sticks to plows to tractors, we've gone from everyone needing to make food to modern agriculture with almost no one needing to make food. And yet we still have abundance. Of course, it's not just farming, it's everything. We've spent the last several thousand years building tools to reduce physical labor of all kinds. These are mechanical muscles, stronger, more reliable, and more tireless than human muscles ever could be. And that's a good thing. Replacing human labor with mechanical muscles frees people to specialize, and that leaves everyone better off, even those still doing physical labor. This is how economies grow and standards of living rise. Some people have specialized to be programmers and engineers whose job is to build mechanical minds. Just as mechanical muscles made human labor less in demand, so are mechanical minds making human brain labor less in demand. This is an economic revolution. You may think we've been here before, but we haven't. This time is different. When you think of automation, you probably think of this: giant, custom-built, expensive, efficient, but really dumb robots blind to the world and their own work. They were a scary kind of automation, but they haven't taken over the world because they're only cost-effective in narrow situations. But they're the old kind of automation. This is the new kind. Meet Baxter. Unlike these things, which require skilled operators and technicians and millions of dollars, Baxter has vision and can learn what you want him to do by watching you do it. And he costs less than the average annual salary of a human worker. Unlike his older brothers, he isn't pre-programmed for one specific job. He can do whatever work is within the reach of his arms. Baxter is what might be thought of as a general-purpose robot, and general purpose is a big deal. Think computers. They too started out as highly custom and highly expensive, but when cheap-ish general-purpose computers appeared, they quickly became vital to everything. A general-purpose computer can just as easily calculate change, or assign seats on an airplane, or play a game, or do anything just by swapping its software. And this huge demand for computers of all kinds is what makes them both more powerful and cheaper every year. Baxter today is the computer of the 1980s. He's not the apex, but the beginning. Even if Baxter is slow, his hourly cost is pennies worth of electricity, while his meat-based competition costs minimum wage. A tenth the speed is still cost-effective when it's 100th the price. And while Baxter isn't as smart as some of the other things we will talk about, he's smart enough to take over many low-skilled jobs. And we've already seen how dumber robots than Baxter can replace jobs. In new supermarkets, what used to be 30 humans is now 1 human overseeing 30 cashier robots. Or take the hundreds of thousands of baristas employed worldwide. There's a barista robot coming for them. Sure, maybe your guy makes the double mocha whatever just perfect and you'd never trust anyone else, but millions of people don't care and just want a decent cup of coffee. Oh, and by the way, this robot is actually a giant network of robots that remembers who you are and how you like your coffee no matter where you are. Pretty convenient. We think of technological change as the fancy new expensive stuff, but the real change comes from last decade stuff getting cheaper and faster. That's what's happening to robots now. And because their mechanical minds are capable of decision-making, they are out-competing humans for jobs in a way no pure mechanical muscle ever could. Imagine a pair of horses in the early 1900s talking about technology. One worries all these new mechanical muscles will make horses unnecessary. The other reminds him that everything so far has made their lives easier. Remember all that farm work? Remember running from coast to coast delivering mail? Remember riding into battle? All terrible. These new city jobs are pretty cushy, and with so many humans in the cities, there will be more jobs for horses than ever. Even if this car thingy takes off, he might say, there will be new jobs for horses we can't imagine. But you, dear viewer, from beyond 2000, know what happened. There are still working horses, but nothing like before. The horse population peaked in 1915. From that point on, it was nothing but down. There isn't a rule of economics that says better technology makes more better jobs for horses. It sounds shockingly dumb to even say that out loud, but swap horses for humans and suddenly people think it sounds about right. As mechanical muscles pushed horses out of the economy, mechanical minds will do the same to humans. Not immediately, not everywhere, but in large enough numbers and soon enough that it's going to be a huge problem if we're not prepared, and we're not prepared. You, like the second horse, may look at the state of technology now and think it can't possibly replace your job, but technology gets better, cheaper, and faster at a rate biology can't match. Just as the car was the beginning of the end for the horse, so now does the car show us the shape of things to come. Self-driving cars aren't the future. They're here and they work. Self-driving cars have traveled hundreds of thousands of miles up and down the California coast and through cities, all without human intervention. The question is not if they'll replace cars, but how quickly. They don't need to be perfect, they just need to be better than us. Human drivers, by the way, kill 40,000 people a year with cars just in the United States. Given that self-driving cars don't blink, don't text while driving, don't get sleepy or stupid, it's easy to see them being better than humans because they already are. Now, to describe self-driving cars as cars at all is like calling the first cars mechanical horses. Cars in all their forms are so much more than horses that using the name limits your thinking about what they can even do. Let's call self-driving cars what they really are. Autos, the solution to the transport objects from point A to point B problem. Traditional cars happen to be human-sized to transport humans, but tiny autos can work in warehouses and gigantic autos can work in pit mines. Moving stuff around is who knows how many jobs, but the transportation industry in the United States employs about 3 million people. Extrapolating worldwide, that's something like 70 million jobs at a minimum. These jobs are over. The usual argument is that the unions will prevent it, but history is filled with workers who fought technology that would replace them, and the workers always lose. Economics always wins, and there are huge incentives across wildly diverse industries to adopt autos. For many transportation companies, humans are about a third their total costs. That's just the straight salaries. Humans sleeping in their long-haul trucks cost time and money, accidents cost money, carelessness costs money. If you think insurance companies will be against it, guess what? Their perfect driver is one who pays their small premiums and never gets into an accident. The autos are coming, and they're the first place where most people will really see the robots changing society. But there are many other places in the economy where the same thing is happening, just less visibly. So it goes with autos, so it goes for everything. It's easy to look at autos and Baxters and think technology has always gotten rid of low-skilled jobs we don't want people doing anyway. They'll get more skilled and do better educated jobs like they've always done. Even ignoring the problem of pushing 100 million additional people through higher education, white-collar work is no safe haven either. If your job is sitting in front of a screen and typing and clicking, like maybe you're supposed to be doing right now, the bots are coming for you too, buddy. Software bots are both intangible and way faster and cheaper than physical robots. Given that white-collar workers are, from a company's perspective, both more expensive and more numerous, the incentive to automate their work is greater than low-skilled work. And that's just what automation engineers are for. These are skilled programmers whose entire job is to replace your job with a software bot. You may think even the world's smartest automation engineer could never make a bot to do your job, and you may be right, but the cutting edge of programming isn't super smart programmers writing bots, it's super smart programmers writing bots that teach themselves how to do things the programmer could never teach them to do. How that works is well beyond the scope of this video, but the bottom line is there are limited ways to show a bot a bunch of stuff to do, show the bot a bunch of correctly done stuff, and it can figure out how to do the job to be done. Even with just a goal and no knowledge of how to do it, the bots can still learn. Take the stock market, which in many ways is no longer a human endeavor. It's mostly bots that taught themselves to trade stocks, trading stocks with other bots that taught themselves. As a result, the floor of the New York Stock Exchange isn't filled with traders doing their day jobs anymore. It's largely a TV set. So bots have learned the market and bots have learned to write. If you've picked up a newspaper lately, you've probably already read a story written by a bot. There are companies that teach bots to write anything, sports stories, TPS reports, even say those quarterly reports that you write at work. Paperwork, decision-making, writing, a lot of human work falls into that category, and the demand for human mental labor in these areas is on the way down. But surely the professions are still safe from bots, yes? When you think lawyer, it's easy to think of trials, but the bulk of lawyering is actually drafting legal documents, predicting the likely outcome and impact of lawsuits, and something called discovery, which is where boxes of paperwork gets dumped on the lawyers and they need to find the pattern or the one out-of-place transaction among it all. This can be bot work. Discovery in particular is already not a human job in many law firms. Not because there isn't paperwork to go through, there's more of it than ever, but because clever research bots shift through millions of emails and memos and accounts in hours, not weeks, crushing human researchers in terms of not just cost and time, but most importantly, accuracy. Bots don't get sleepy reading through a million emails. But that's the simple stuff. IBM has a bot named Watson. You may have seen him on TV destroy humans at Jeopardy, but that was just a fun side project for him. Watson's day job is to be the best doctor in the world, to understand what people say in their own words and give back accurate diagnoses. He's already doing that at Sloan Kettering, giving guidance on lung cancer treatments. Just as autos don't need to be perfect, they just need to make fewer mistakes than humans, the same goes for doctor bots. Human doctors are by no means perfect. The frequency and severity of misdiagnoses are terrifying, and human doctors are severely limited in dealing with a human's complicated medical history. Understanding every drug and every drug's interaction with every other drug is beyond the scope of human knowability, especially when there are research robots whose whole job it is to test thousands of new drugs at a time. And human doctors can only improve through their own experiences. Doctor bots can learn from the experience of every doctor bot, can read the latest in medical research and keep track of everything that happens to all their patients worldwide and make correlations that would be impossible to find otherwise. Not all doctors will go away, but when the doctor bots are comparable to humans and they're only as far away as your phone, the need for general doctors will be less. So professionals, white-collar workers, and low-skill workers all have things to worry about from automation. But perhaps you are unfazed because you're a special creative snowflake. Well, guess what? You're not that special. Creativity may feel like magic, but it isn't. The brain is a complicated machine, perhaps the most complicated machine in the whole universe, but that hasn't stopped us from trying to simulate it. There is this notion that just as mechanical muscles allowed us to move into thinking jobs, that mechanical minds will allow us to move into creative work. But even if we assume the human mind is magically creative, it's not, but just for the sake of argument, artistic creativity isn't what the majority of jobs depend on. The number of writers and poets and directors and actors and artists who actually make a living doing their work is a tiny, tiny portion of the labor force. And given that these are professions dependent on popularity, they'll always be a very small portion of the population. There can't be such a thing as a poem and painting-based economy. Oh, by the way, this music in the background that you're listening to, it was written by a bot. Her name is Emily Howell, and she can write an infinite amount of new music all day for free. And people can't tell the difference between her and human composers when put to a blind test. Talking about artificial creativity gets weird fast. What does that even mean? But nonetheless, it's a developing field. People used to think that playing chess was a uniquely creative human skill that machines could never do, right up until the point they beat the best of us. And so it will go for all human talents. Right. This may have been a lot to take in, and you might want to reject it. It's easy to be cynical of the endless and idiotic predictions of futures that never are. So that's why it's important to emphasize again that this stuff isn't science fiction. The robots are here right now. There is a terrifying amount of working automation in labs and warehouses around the world. We have been through economic revolutions before, but the robot revolution is different. Horses aren't unemployed now because they got lazy as a species, they're unemployable. There's little work that a horse can do to pay for its housing and hay. And many bright, perfectly capable humans will find themselves the new horse, unemployable through no fault of their own. But if you still think new jobs will save us, here is one final point to consider. The US Census in 1776 tracked only a few kinds of jobs. Now, there are hundreds of kinds of jobs, but the new ones are not a significant part of the labor force. Here's the list of jobs ranked by the number of people who perform them. It's a sobering list with the transportation industry at the top. Continuing downward, all of this work existed in some form 100 years ago, and almost all of them are easy targets for automation. Only when we get to number 33 on the list is there finally something new. Don't think that every barista or white-collar worker need lose their job before things are a problem. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%. The list above is 45% of the workforce. Just what we've talked about today, the stuff that already works, can push us over that number pretty soon. And given that even in our modern technological wonderland, new kinds of work aren't a significant portion of the economy, this is a big problem. This video isn't about how automation is bad, rather that automation is inevitable. It's a tool to produce abundance for little effort. We need to start thinking now about what to do when large sections of the population are unemployable through no fault of their own. What to do in a future where, for most jobs, humans need not apply.
Wow. Wow. Mm. Okay. Humans need not apply. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it relates to the film industry. Humans need not apply. Who would like to comment on what we just saw? Okay, Lanaya.
What we just saw, it was just basically like how advanced the human race is getting and the technology that we're creating, and it could be good and bad because it's taking jobs, but yet it's making the work field like much safer, like because there are some jobs that are dangerous that machines are taking over.
Yes. Mario.
I would like to add on by saying that while these jobs are becoming automated, they're dangerous jobs. It's also creating a surplus of people who cannot find employment under no fault of their own. And eventually we're going to just have this mass of people who have studied for certain positions and gone to trade schools and done these things, get a job that they once had that now is done by a machine, and now they really don't have many options when finding a new job or something else for them to do.
Okay, thank you. Jacqueline. You're on mute, Jacqueline. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Okay.
Yes.
I was saying that the interesting part about the video in regards to the film industry is that it could really go either way because as technology advances, you have better cameras, better equipment for the directors and things, but it's also making it so that directors and producers aren't really necessary. You could really have these robots film a whole movie and the only people that would be necessary are the actors.
This is true. How does that make you feel, Gavin? How does that make you feel?
Well, like, I guess it kind of shows like how the technology is over time is evolving now. I guess so. Like, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. So it really does depend.
Right. Jocelyn, what do you think the answer may be?
I'm confused. The answer to what exactly?
To what we're now presented with the fact that you have so many bots coming and taking over our jobs and stuff.
Truthfully, I agree with everyone else that it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I see it as like it will start to become a competition for jobs, where people that didn't choose to be like actors and stuff, they'll see, like for example, what Jacqueline said, like the actors will try to go for their dreams, but then other people will be like, well, I need a job, so I'm gonna go for the acting field as well, which would make it like a lot harder for people to get jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Latrell. Latrell, your thoughts? You're muted, Latrell. Okay, we'll come back to you. Frida, what's going on? What did you see? What did you see in this video we just saw? Frida? Okay, Frida is, okay. Then we're gonna bring it over to Itzel.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi. Hello.
How are you today? What do you think of what we just saw?
I thought that it was actually the most realistic thing I've ever seen, because it's all true. I'm so sorry, but anyway, the video that really stood out to me because it's true. Like, as we evolve and all that stuff, technology is gonna evolve as well, and I feel like how it connects to the film industry is like how I forgot who said it, but they were saying how directors are probably not going to be needed anymore because the robots are going to be the ones filming everything, and then the only thing that they're going to need is the actors, like the script writers probably, but it's all going to be programmed into the robot. So it's like, you know, as time goes by, it's going to all change, and that's crazy.
Right, and we have to stay abreast of the changes, whether we like them or not. Right, a whole lot of things, like we said about being flexible. A whole lot of things is happening, but as long as we're aware, we'll know how to defend ourselves, and we're going to try and talk about what the answer is in a few moments. Garlene, how are you?
I'm good.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about what you saw.
Well, it's basically just showing how like the world is passing so it's like working so fast and like it's progressing so much to the point where like almost like humans are not even needed anymore. It kind of makes us feel like worthless, like we don't like bots are doing our work. So it's like, what are we gonna do in the future? But yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, what do you think?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think it was just crazy how technology really impacts like the filming industry. In a way, I think it does like impact it in a positive way, as it makes filming a lot easier. But at the same time, it also like most of those film directors are not needed anymore, and it's all controlled by robots, which is kind of like, I don't know, like it can be positive, like it can be a positive impact or negative, depending on the way you think of it.
Yes. That's good. That's good thought. Destiny, what do you think about the film you just saw?
I think that about the film that it gave like, what you call it? It gave, I would say like a positive impact.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Rahimi, same question.
I think it was a bit scary to think about, but at the same time, I think that there are some jobs that, machines and robots can't replace from like an artistic point of view. I feel like there are some things that humans can still do that will make us feel something because it's done by humans, emotions that we can relate to. I don't think that robots can mimic that, so to speak.
Okay.
But like labor jobs, like practical jobs, they can be replaced, yeah.
Fantastic. Mario.
Yes.
What do you think is the answer to technology coming like it's coming, taking over our jobs?
I think that it's something that we're going to have to start trying to prepare for, whether that is learning other skills on the side or trying to build your network and meet new people so you can have a better chance of finding a job in the future. Or I think a good solution is that we should start training people now to work with these machines and to repair them and not just rely on people who are learning how to fix other things and assume that they can learn to fix these new machines because they're already fixing something similar.
Yeah. Kasim.
Well, I just thought it was kind of disheartening because, like, I always assumed that like robots can't replace the creative jobs in a sense, but the video was just like, oh, the robots can make music and paint. So it's just like, I always assumed like that's like the one thing humans could have, but in reality, that's not the case. That's really not the case.
Right. Yeah. And you know, and it's real interesting. I show you guys that because as filmmakers and as entrepreneurs, we want to be ready for what the future is going to hold for us. We want to be aware of what the future is going to be like. You guys are you're the new breed. You guys are going to determine what it is audience like and what it is they will not like. One of the things about robots, as someone said, is they can't capture the human emotion. They can't capture the human feel and spirit. For us as new filmmakers, what we have to do, not just to make sure that we're not put out of the loop when all these things happen, what we have to do to make sure we survive as filmmakers is we have to hustle. We should not, as independent filmmakers, guerrilla filmmakers, as entrepreneurs, we should not put ourselves in a position where we have to have other people feed us or other people support us, because what we want to do is be able to find creative ways to make money, to make whatever it is we need for ourselves, right? The problem becomes when we become dependent on things. When we become dependent, that's when we have a problem. If you have somebody who's giving you, say, $500 a week and you become dependent on that, then if they want to take it away, you're going to have problems. But if you're making your own $500 a week, then you're not gonna worry about it. If they say, hey, look, I'm not giving it to you, like, I don't care, right? That's how you have to be in this industry. Like we said, there's a lot of rejection in this industry. You don't want to have the rug pulled from under you because some producer's mad at you, or they don't like you, or they don't like your idea, or something like that. You create your own idea, you become an entrepreneur, you find the best way for you to make money in your idea, and then you keep doing it. Our fight against the bots and all that kind of stuff, the robots and this, that, and the other thing, is because when we find ourselves on our backs, it's because we allowed someone else to take control of what it is we do. Right now, in today's society, and the way things are today, there's nothing you have to worry about, or you have to get, or you have to rely upon that's going to come from other people. Right? Sure, you're going to make your own teams. You're going to make your own mastermind teams. We're going to talk about mastermind groups. But that's the group that Dell was talking about. Well, Dell said that he's around people that look up to him, that respect him, that he respects. That's the kind of team you're going to build for yourself. And those will become your friends and your real family, because your family you never chose. You just woke up one day and said, that's your brother, that's your sister, right? But you'll start choosing who you're going to be around on not just your path to filmmaking, but on your path to life. This business is a tough business. They don't care about anybody. They don't love you. They don't like you, nothing. Only thing you can do is continue to develop your talent, create good projects, and at the same time, make sure you find a way to get an income coming in. And we're going to talk more about that way. We're going to talk more about the way to do this. We're going to talk more about that on Thursday. Now, don't forget tomorrow, you guys, for tonight. Well, tonight by 6 o'clock, you want to get to Miss Adler. You want to get all those questions in and answered. When we begin again on Thursday, we're gonna begin where we left off. I'm gonna find out whatever her lessons are for tomorrow. We'll go over that a little bit on Thursday, and then we're gonna talk about distribution, getting the deal, making the sale, how the sales are made, putting money in your pockets. And we're gonna have another special guest on Thursday. Listen, guys, it's been really good. You know, we end at 1:30. So for the next 10 minutes, what I'd like for you to do, okay, for the next 10 minutes, what I'd like for you to do, I'm here, I'll answer some questions for you. Someone just wrote me some questions. Let's see.
I would like to.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so a question I have for you is, can you give an example for what we should be doing tomorrow, like the work? Like you said, like, do we have to write a script?
Okay,
give.
Right, she's not asking you to write a script. She's asking you to answer 5 basic questions, which is really the beginning of getting your script and idea. Okay, the first question is what topic? You're gonna answer 5, but there's 9 questions here. First one is what topics do you want to discuss? Then it goes to main messages. If your audience was seeing this in a theater, what is the main thought you will want to be in their heads when they walk out the door? Story reference, what other films, photos, projects, articles already exist on this topic? How is your film going to be different? What are you adding to the conversation? Goals, is it simply a creative expression for your own enjoyment of the process, or do you want this to have a specific impact? If your project is focusing on social issues, if there's a specific social impact you would like to have, such as building support for a specific organization, help change policy, core audience to specific action, etc. Story possibilities. What are some ways you can tell this story? Think about the example you watched. Then she wants the summary, the log lines. We went over log lines on the first day too. We went over log lines, and then there's the video elements. What are all of the things you need to capture or collect to create this project? And then it's the equipment. What will you need in order to capture or collect all of this? What do you have already, and what do you need to find? Right, okay, you know, and then I looked at, there's like 4 more questions. So you have, out of 13 questions, you have 5 that you can choose and get answers from.
So I appreciate it. So you said at 6, we'll be contacting who again?
Okay, 6, it's gonna be Miss Adler, the other film instructor.
Okay.
All right, you guys have Miss Adler's email address? Yeah,
I don't think I have hers.
Okay. Great, thank you, Gavin. Gavin sent out. Okay, now, so when you go to chat, Gavin sent everybody the proposal and pitch prep worksheet. That's what you need to answer it. Let me see if I can get her. Does anyone have an email address where I don't have to go into the, okay, I'm gonna try and get her email address for you. Okay. In fact, okay, there you go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
Great. So everyone.
Thank you, Mario.
Everybody that needs the email address, please take it. Take it from
No
Eric.
problem.
Yes, I appreciate you guys. Any other questions before we close out? Listen, I had a great time. You guys are great, great, great young people. I'm truly, truly impressed. And I look forward to us meeting again on Thursday. I may stop by tomorrow if I get a chance just to hang in with you a few minutes while Miss Adler do her thing. She's a great teacher. And I hope at the end of this program that it changed your life, that your life will be changed by what it is you're learning from this program. Anybody else? Any last questions? Because that's it. I got
One quick question.
Yeah.
Do we just email her our responses, correct? We don't have to like. There's no Zoom call we have to join or anything.
Right. No, that's just you just email her your responses. It's not a Zoom call. Not a Zoom call. Anybody else? Listen, enjoy your day. I hope you got a lot out of it. We're gonna do a review on Thursday too. It's really, really exciting. I'm gonna see you guys. I always say I have my own say, and I say I'm gonna see you at the top. I'm gonna see you at the top. And some of you guys, like I said, I'm just so excited for you. You're in the industry. You got it in the industry. You're gonna get waivers for the Action on Film International Film Festival. So if you want your film in next year or the year after, you just continue to contact me or contact Dale. In fact, let me put my email out here. All right. That's kenyakagel@aol.com. That's kenyakagel@aol.com. If you need to contact me, just go ahead and email me. I'll be happy to get back to you. And we're going to get this done. So everyone, you are now wrapped for the day. Have a great day. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You guys are the best. Yes. Mm-hmm. Latrell, are you there? Latrell.